So, it's June 6th, 2021 today, and it's a toasty high of 30 degrees. Very toasty. And as you can see, the garden is growing rather well. Take a look over here. This is my Japanese red maple that I bought 2 years ago from Home Depot. It survived for 1 year, but then it died the next year. Then I planted this mulberry and it kind of died on me, but the awesome thing is that, well, I always say never give up on your plants. And if we look at the very bottom, look, it has started growing from the base. So it's probably dead from here on up, but at the bottom it's quite alive, and it's gonna come back. And I also planted another mulberry here, which they can grow alongside each other and hopefully fuse together in the future or something. So over here I have some Staghorn Sumac that I dug out of somewhere in a park with a ton of other Staghorn Sumacs, and they're growing well. The one right in the middle is obviously growing faster than the one on the left, and interestingly it seems to have leaned over a bit to get more sunlight because of the rose bush on the right side. And the rose bush is growing like crazy as well. This is like a 5-year-old rose bush, so I do trim it every early spring, and it's going fabulous. And weeds, Korean pine there in the distance with a eastern red cedar there near the fence. These evergreens don't grow too fast, not as fast as the weeds. But then here we have the Polonia Tomentosa. You can see the leaves behind the rose bush. Oh, before we look at the rest of that, let's look at this Dwarf Alberta Spruce. So it has grown quite a bit bigger since we got it 5 years ago, but it grows quite slowly. It is a dwarf species, I guess. And anyway, so here's the my largest Polonia Tomentosa. And if we take a look at the trunk, it is fairly thick now, and the tree itself, so this was the height of its growth last growing season, and now this branch here has taken over as the new leader. So also over here, another kind of leader. So my guess is it's going to be multi-trunked. Well, it is already multi-trunked, so it'll just continue to be multi-trunked. And let's take a look at it again. And it's about 2 meters high. But the real champion of fastest growing tree in southern Ontario is probably this, the Tree of Heaven, Ailanthus altissima. As you can see, this is already, the Ailanthus altissima has almost caught up to the Polonia Tomentosa, even though the Polonia Tomentosa is like probably 3 or 4 years old. This is only its second growing season, and so far this last growing season it got up to this high, and from there it has grown that much this growing season, so it's almost doubled its height. So I'm pretty sure it's going to continue growing that fast. In this little area here, there's you can see these wispy things. Those are asparagus, and we didn't bother trying to harvest and eat them because there were only 5 spears, so we just let them grow into actual plants that can strengthen the roots. There's another Polonia Tomentosa, and here is a white ash. It's actually also growing really fast. It is a lot older, probably about 4 or 5 years old than the others, but it's already 3 meters high, so that's pretty cool. I'll just let that grow. Hopefully it doesn't get attacked by any emerald ash borers or anything. And then the weeds are always growing really well. We have some black raspberry. They're wild, and if we take a close look at the bush, we can see that the black raspberry are already forming. So they're green now, but they'll be red and then black. And normally they would be a little further along by the first week of June and probably ready, but maybe they'll be okay, ready to eat by the end of June. Lots of black raspberry and ash. Over here as well, black raspberry. They're doing well. They're covering up the unsightly gas meter. And if we look at this black walnut that I dug up last year, I kind of damaged the taproot, so it's dead. I'm pretty sure it's dead. And we have some pawpaw right there in the middle. So that's pawpaw grown from seed, and this is also pawpaw grown from seed. The scientific name is Asparagus triloba. So the cool thing about the pawpaw is obviously the fruit, but it's also a tropical plant that is that can survive in up to the 5A hardiness zones in Canada. So southern Ontario is a great, even up to Toronto is a great environment for it. And the leaves look exactly like the soursop plant's leaves, and they are related. So going into the back, here's the catalpa volunteer seedling. It's finally 2 meters high. And then we have a black raspberry bush on the right side. And here is a pawpaw that it was a pup from a parent plant that I got 2 years ago, so it's growing well. And there's lots of ash seedlings and black raspberry ash again, and like mulberry volunteer seedlings as well, such as the one in the middle. That's mulberry. Now over here you can see how deep this pit is. I've just been digging a little bit every day, and you can see a few standard sized brooms and a hoe down there, just to give you an idea of how deep it is right now. I'm gonna create an egress window, or maybe a little door, but it'll have to be glass anyways, out from the basement, and I'm going to create a little greenhouse here so that I can, a passive greenhouse, so that I can keep the tropical plants in there rather than hauling them out of the basement and putting them back every growing season. And it's a dual purpose thing. It not only creates an exit from the basement directly, but it also will serve as an earth battery, so basically a passive greenhouse that won't require extra heat. Of course, I could leave the door to the basement open for some heat from the basement, but basically it's going to be a wallapini, and yeah, so I'll look forward to that, and I'll provide updates, that's for sure. And a lot of the dirt from the excavation has gone behind here, and so for example, I've planted some potato from the supermarket, so they're all growing really well. And I just used pots that I already had to form the walls of the little raised garden. We have the American elm here growing well, and weeds, of course, and I planted some other crops or seeds back there, but nothing else is growing. We have some pawpaw that I grew from seed, and they're under the shade of the ash trees because they are an understory tree, and they would basically die in direct sunlight. And then here we have some pear trees that I grew from seed, so they're doing quite well. Not as well as the apple trees out front, which I didn't show you just now. This is white mulberry that I planted from seed. It's the only survivor. This is a box elder maple or Manitoba maple that grew from almost under my shed. It's about 5 years old, and now it's finally as tall as the shed. So that's about 3 to 4 meters high. And along the shed, growing on the shed, is a Japanese creeper. I forget the actual name. Down here there's a Polonia that I put under the shade of the Manitoba maple, and it's growing towards the sunlight. And then down here there are some apple seedlings that I planted in the winter. So here, here, weeds. I forget what this is. This looks like garlic mustard, and this is definitely Virginia creeper. Garlic mustard, apple, and so over here in the kind of bonsai pot, there are pear and there are apple seedlings, and I put some of the pawpaw here as well. So there's one there, and there's one right there, and then there's another Polonia Tomentosa. And here is a raised garden bed that I built out of some low-cost lumber that I got 2 years ago. And yeah, so I don't know, we'll plant some stuff there. the bench with the cabinets was actually some old furniture that I found under the stairs in my house. So that's a pretty good use of it. And here is a table that I made out of two pallets, high quality pallets, I would say. But yeah, that was free wood. And then if we look past the shed, full of junk, of course. I'll clean that up later. There we have the Hugin culture and compost area. I planted some black walnuts in this area right in front of you, the bare area, but either the squirrels got to it all or they just basically didn't grow. So I'm not sure. It seems like even though this area is full of black walnut trees, I'm kind of having a hard time growing them. And that pile of sticks is actually was built by my daughter. There's some pawpaw there, and over here there's another Ailanthus altissima. Actually very nice, very tropical looking. And this is apple, and this is ash. This is apple as well. It has some kind of white fungus on the leaves. This is cottonwood. So these trees are native to this area, and they grow, their seeds are just blown in the wind because they ride on cotton-like kind of like dandelions, but not as long. Anyways, seeds that can fly in the air, and then they just grow anywhere, but they grow super fast and super huge. And then we have some mulberry back here, which again, volunteer seedlings, and we have this nice thicket of Virginia creeper covering up this unused TV antennae. And then back here there's this bitternut hickory. So the nuts indeed are super bitter. If you roast them, they're less bitter, but they don't taste very good, but they're not poisonous. So that's growing from back there. And plenty of ash. And then here is the lone Robinia pseudoacacia, the black locust. And then beside it or over it is a 3-year-old mulberry tree that again is I think it's a red mulberry. It's a volunteer seedling. So as you can see, there are mulberries developing all over it. So the mulberries were they're very plentiful this year. In the past 2 years there were a few, but very few, like less than a dozen. But they are all over the tree right now, which is exciting. I would highly recommend mulberry for people in southern Ontario. I know that people say it's invasive, and it kind of is because it's such a tough tree, but it's, you know, if you get fruit, you'll be thankful. And then the plants in the pots are tropical plants, which I brought out of the basement, and I've hardened them off. Like by hardening them off, I put them under this raised pallet there, for about a week, and then I put them under here, which still gets dappled sunlight and some direct sunlight, but unfortunately, like the one you see in front of you with the dead leaf, that's jackfruit. So the jackfruit, the leaves wilted and it'll have to grow new leaves. I'm sure it'll come back, but that just slows its growth down. But this other one in the air pot, this one, the Bodhi Tree, they do well with hardening off. They're very tough plants, so they don't get too easily damaged. But still, I would recommend hardening them off rather than just putting them directly outside. Here's some, this is an Ikea Drachenia Marginata. You can actually propagate Drachenia Marginata by just snipping it anywhere, putting it in water, and then the cutting will grow roots in water, and then you can plant it, and then the main stem will actually grow 3 new shoots. And that's why you always see the Ikea Drachenia Marginatas with 3 leaders. Over here is again another Ailanthus altissima. This is these are some 2-year-old thornless honey locusts that I planted from seed. I didn't plant them on purpose. I just left the seeds outside and they kind of just grew in the pods. So I buried them and I let them grow. And then this again is a ash. And the interesting thing about about any plant actually is that, for example, this is a seed. This is a seed from, and also this is a seed from the thornless honey locust. And all the seeds were here 2 years ago, but only some of them grew last year. And then these ones waited until this year to grow. So, right, that's a pretty good survival strategy. Some seeds germinate 1 year, and then some seeds wait 2 years. Who knows, maybe next year there will be some seeds that germinate again. And then over here you can see some Ailanthus altissima seeds. This is definitely Ailanthus altissima. You can just tell by the seeds. That too, Ailanthus altissima. This one is a ash. You can tell because the cotyledons are long, and that looks like an ash leaf. And yeah, so those are those. And then I got a compost bin going there, and some tropical trees. What's annoying, and I'm sure all gardeners out there find the same annoyance, is that squirrels or other animals will dig your stuff up. Even this pot right here, which has a this is an avocado tree. It got broken just like that. I'm not sure why. I'm betting that squirrels like just took a bite out of it or something, because I did put some stones to prevent them from digging, because squirrels love digging avocado, and then they just dig the seeds out, take a bite, and then they just throw it away, destroying the entire plant. This pot used to have it had 2 avocado trees which the squirrels killed by digging out the seed and then killing the tree. It has 2 left, but yeah, that one snapped, not sure why. And then I have a bunch of indoor trees there under that little sand table, so that they can harden off before I fully expose them. This is the other side of the house, and look, there's some Virginia creeper just growing like in cracks and all this stuff. And if we look up here, this is a pot of Polonia Tomentosa, and basically I germinated them in a jar of water on the windowsill, and then I just poured the water into this pot of dirt, moist dirt, and then I covered it up with this plastic wrap. And and at that time only a few of the seeds actually had any leaves, but most of them had little roots coming out. So I just poured the water on top. I didn't even bury those little seeds. And as you can see down there, virtually 100% germination. So there's a ton of Polonia Tomentosa down there right now. And they do well because it's very moist. And then also they're getting outside sunlight. So then you don't have to worry about burning them when you do remove the plastic, or when you take them outside. And from up here we can also see the grapevine that has made its way up the side of the house. And it's not, I did do a bit of trimming. It's the growth hasn't reached the top yet. Last year it did, I'm not sure. I guess it'll keep going because it looks like the bottom is a lot more growth at the bottom. Like, as you can see, new tendrils and vines coming out. And I also ran one of the thicker vines along the side here to try to get that to grow. And if you look at this has been here since we got the house in 2015. So it's pretty thick. So this grapevine is fairly thick. While hiking, I've seen grapevines that actually, not even my hand, like it was as thick as my thigh. So like you can imagine this getting super thick. And it's growing out the side of the house. And there's a bunch of ants there. But anyways, the grapevine, I'm not worried about it damaging the foundation because the foundation's already damaged. And there's actually a mulberry here as well. It's dead from up there, but it's growing down here again. So all these mulberry leaves. And if that mulberry grows well, I'll do some espalier, which is to spread it out against the wall so that the tree will grow flat against the wall. And then here is another American elm, and that's growing. So that's basically all for today. You probably didn't watch the whole video, maybe you did, but if you're here at the end, thank you for watching. I hope you did enjoy it, and if you have any questions about gardening, you definitely can ask me. So I hope you guys are all taking care, and I hope everything goes back to normal pretty soon.